Hey there, and welcome back to another Genshin video. I wanted to do other stuff, but I got sick and couldn't record that other stuff, and as such, we are stuck with more Genshin. So, today, we are gonna be taking a look at the new main event that just finished, and we are gonna be reviewing the entire Archon Quests since it is basically done. As I know a bit from leaks, there is supposed to be a few things in the future, an interlude, but we are basically done with Sumeru, so we can take a look at the entire Archon Quest, and that's what we're gonna do, so that's why this video is hella big. But let's begin with the main event so that we can take care of that before we go into the big meat. I was thinking of doing like two separate videos, but I was like, let's just do them all in one, why not? I might like chapter this out through YouTube chapters in order to help you if you want to go immediately into the Archon Quest. So, let's begin. Our main event is the Fungi event. Usually in events like this one, I kind of turn my brain off and ignore them because they are casual and usually they are nothing. But this time, I surprisingly felt bored by this event. I don't know what to tell you, it really felt boring to me and I dreaded doing this event. I have to say that this event did not need to be the main event of an update. If it was just another event with cut down parts, it would have been perfectly fine, I have to say. And like this event like seriously did not need to have a story, nor any of the extra stuff. If this event, as I mentioned, was like the one before it, like the Adventurous Trials, it would have been perfectly fine. Adventurous Trials was nice, casual, and fun. It used characters' abilities to do nice minigames, and I do not understand why this event again needed to be bigger than that one. And not only that, it would have been much better to have been like Adventurous Trials, because for those that actually liked it, you have a chance at this event rerunning, because main events don't get reused. Most of the time they don't get recycled. And yeah, well, the story was shit. I know they tried to be like a Pokemon story, but, you know, they tried to be this comical story, and then they tried to take it seriously, and it just kind of comes off as dumb and, dare I say, cringe. I did not like this story whatsoever. It was boring, bad, and not even funny or so bad that it's good. Most, if not all of the playable characters involved, Yamiko and Layla mostly, had no reason to be there. They were plonked in there just because to sell. Right. I also don't know who chose Yae as a character to be in this event. I mean, again, I know it's for sales, but we have another character from Inazuma who tames animals and uses them to fight. Ito. Well, Ayato as well, because they do it together, but I don't think that Ayato has the time to go on a business trip to Sumeru. But Ito is such a perfect character for this event. Not only is he more comical than Yaemiko, because he's a fucking dumbass, but the whole thing of the event ties into him. He's perfect. You have his hobby of the beetle fights, and then when the plot twist of the story is that the gadget they've been using to tame the fungi isn't meant for good intentions, and also the fungi trainers are feeling a bit bad because they're enslaving the fungi against their own will, it fits very well with Ito because he tames Onikabuto naturally. He doesn't force them in any way. Yes, I know, beetles are fucking dumb, but dumber than the fungi at least, because the fungi are monsters. But again, Ito does it naturally. He's a natural trainer, let's say, so he knows how to go with nature and be a good guy. So at first, right, like, he very much fits to be freaking mad to learn how this gadget works in reality and what the whole thing is actually about, like the whole tournament. So you have him at first go along with the tournament because he's an idiot, and also he's like, well, the fungi are monsters, they are smart compared to the Onikabuto, which are usually kind of harmless, so let's use the gadget. But then when he learns that shit is not as it is, he gets freaking mad because it seems that you can tame them without excessive need of the gadget or just any need. So again, I would have so much rather to have Ito in this event than Yaimiko. She does not fit at all. She doesn't bring anything. Please, she's written so freaking badly. She's like the smug, smart character, but she's also an asshole on top of it. So she really comes off as annoying to me. And then as for poor Layla, she also didn't fit in the quest. She's just there because poor Layla needed an introduction somehow. I would have much preferred a hangout for her. And also, like, she's a very important face of the academia. She is a teacher, and she's also supposedly a lot of years old, because I think she's supposed to be an elf like Klee and Alice, so, they kind of like, they grow slowly, their age doesn't like show their looks, like it doesn't come off like that. Like Klee's a child, but she's also like X years old, like whatever the fuck. And so is Layla, apparently. And seeing her in this like dumb comical event when she's supposed to be an actually like serious scholar in academia, it kind of feels like she got the short stick of it. So yeah, like poor Layla. As for gameplay of the event, then the capture the fungi part, which is the first part you usually did, is the same as we did in the Mondstadt event. You had to capture the animals at some point. So it kind of feels like repetitive, but I can ignore it. It's pretty mindless, like 2 shots of the gadget and like nothing really crazy. Like the event didn't need you to do something crazy specific with mechanics to capture the fungi, so it's pretty mindless, so we can ignore it. Afterwards, though, you have the freaking jelly mobile game, the pair the jelly correctly by moving them around, which is, like full-on mobile game-esque. So you did that to unlock the skill of the fungi, and at first I thought nothing of it because, again, cheap mobile pair 3 game look-alike. But then, when I went into the event tab and I saw that MiHoYo wants you to pay attention to do to complete the thing in under a certain amount of moves, I got angry. Because it's something that should just come and go, no problems, just like the capturing part. But now I need to sit and think and waste my time in, again, something that should just come and go. Annoying, and I had many friends who just did the thing, and then they saw that they couldn't get some stuff from the store or invite Dory. Thanks for the shitty reward, by the way. And then they saw that, oh, I need to do this thing in under X moves. Oh, for fuck's sake! That was the reaction of plenty of my friends towards this thing, and I agree. And then we go to the domains, where we have the fight the enemies, protect the monolith domain, and then the tournament domain. I saw a funny comment about this event, which basically said, community asks for more combat stuff, more combat mechanics, maybe something interesting with combat, and something with combat that doesn't end in less than 2 seconds because characters are just absolutely overpowered and enemies are severely underpowered. And then MiHoYo goes and says, proceeds to take away any control from the player. And I fully agree with this statement. The domains were so easy and boring that I do not know if I can call Genshin appropriate for people over the age of 10. This event made me so bored, I literally was not paying attention during the domains. I was just looking at my other screen, maybe a stream or video, and using my peripheral vision, I was just looking at the fungi skills and the drops that recharge them. Like, peripheral vision fully. I was not paying the slightest attention and just spammed the skills when they were active, and I just did the event and got all of the rewards. And, like, there's no difficulty into this. It's so boring, so mindless, that I could not, like, stand it. Your fungi also just cannot die. Like, pay attention to it. Why? If I just bring a healer fungi, your fungi cannot die. And then the fight just and then you can literally just let the controller down, press the controller or keyboard, just let go, and then just press the skills, at least the healer skill, when it's available, and you're gonna win. Like, you just wait for the enemies to die, because neither do the enemies do any damage, nor do your fungi deal any real significant damage. I guess in the Monolith version, you might want to use the targeting system that they got, but after that, it's the same thing. Just wait until the enemies die, and the Monolith really just adds frustration instead of challenge. And lastly, the tournament fights were so boring and bad, oh goodness. Like, all of the opponent's fungi had no HP except for the boss, like the ace fungi. And even then, you just waited. They were just HP sponges. They were nothing else. They didn't do any more significant damage. Just a single combo of 2 fungi skills killed everything except for this one, and you just sit back, relax, and wait for it to die. And there was no way you're gonna lose, because you are locked into bringing the healer fungi, Bonga Head. So, extremely shit. And all in all, this event sucked, and going from the very nice and fun adventure trials to this made it even worse. I wish we never see something like this again. And I'm gonna, to you, be freaking honest and critical, and don't call this garbage event good because, oh, fungi look cute and Paimon and names are silly, haha. The story sucked, the gameplay was boring, and there are no excuses to why it turned out like this. From the very get-go of the design of this event, its fate was sealed. Casual or not, the adventure trials, and especially the Mondstadt Festival in the previous version, were so far better than this one. This event sucked. Please. It sucked. Get this thing away. Away. I don't care if you tell me, oh, we got the Archon Quest, so they needed to do casual. No jack shit. They have the money, and they especially have the manpower to do anything. They 100% have a separate events team and Archon Quest team. You know that well. This event sucked. There are no excuses. Be critical about it. Don't go me, oh, the fungi are cute and shit. Do not tell me shit like that. Be critical, the gameplay is shit. You're playing a game first and foremost. Oh boy. And with that out of the way, let's begin the Archon Quest review. Spoilers, of course, I don't think I need to mention this. You clicked on the freaking video, you know what's coming. It's spoilers, but I would guess you've already played the Archon Quest. So, again, it isn't necessarily done. There is an interlude coming next version that focuses more on Skara and his fate after the Archon Quest, and we have, apparently, we are getting another, well, not apparently, because every nation has at least 2 weekly bosses, and the second weekly boss is usually tied to the Archon's story quest, we might have some more lore coming to us from Sumeru. But we are pretty much done with Sumeru and the main traveler part, let's say, of it. So I think we can easily say that it is done, and we can take a look at all of the acts and compare them with each other. So, let's start with the first act then. In general, it's okay. It's a starting arc to a new region, so not much can happen that is very, very, very significant, and it's meant to introduce you to characters in Sumeru and the Sumeru region itself. And it does it very well. So we're gonna be doing like recaps of them. So small recap then. We enter Sumeru, we find Hypatia, and then we get high stoned and we see the forget me message inside of the Irinsul. We then wake up to Tinari, we are saved by Tinari and Kole, and we help them do some stuff, and then we go to the city. We get the Akasha terminal, we learn a bit about the city, and also we meet, of course, Dangyazard, and we learn a bit about Kusanali, but then we are shot into Port Ormos, and then we meet the boy Al-Haytham. We learn about the Divine Capsules, we learn how to use them, we do some stuff with Dori and Al-Haytham with what he wants, and then we get to see the effects of the Divine Capsule, like the big one, to the Eremite boss that gets corrupted by it. And then Al-Haytham shoves the Divine Capsule up his ass to steal it. I mean, that's what happens. And that's really Act 1. That's basically Act 1, because then afterwards you return to the city and other stuff happens. But that's Act 1. it's okay. It introduces a good amount of important characters to the lore, mainly, of course, our playable characters, because after that, like Danya's is kind of forgotten afterwards because she is fucking dead for most of the Archon Quest. Okay, I mean, I'm speaking figuratively. But we've got Al-Haytham, of course. We meet Desha, we meet Tenari and Koli. Like, we meet the cast. And the good thing about this Archon Quest is that it gets you to the important places of Sumeru. It gets you to Tinari's village. It then gets you to Sumeru City, the big one, and then it also gets you to Port Ormos. So again, really good pacing to get you around Sumeru. The main parts of it that that you should explore through the story instead of just exploring by yourself. And it introduces a good amount of characters. The only bad thing is the world forget me message. I think that it appears way too early into the entire Archon Quest. By the time you reach like the halfway point, where in Acts 3 and 4 you're kind of away from Sumeru City and lots of things happen, especially the introduction of Dotore and Scaramus, you have basically forgotten about the world forget me message and why we're actually like trying to find out what the fuck it means. So yeah, like you can't forget it, and then it just appears at the end from Urka Devada to tell you, oh, it actually means, yeah, people, for Sumeru to be saved, people need to actually fully forget about my existence. And that's good, but I believe that we could have had that appear a bit later, perhaps in second or third act, like around halfway into the entire Archon Quest. Could we have had this message pop up? Not absolutely the first absolute step you take into Sumeru. And if we, let's say, forget about that it's at the start, I feel that MiHoYo are not taking advantage of a really good narrative point they could use to like tie the traveler and the region or their connection to the Archons and such, which is the acquisition of a new element. I believe never in the entire story, except for Mondstadt, is the traveler forced to go into the Statue of Seven to acquire a new element. But every single time in every region, the first thing you should see by the story, is the statue, the Statue of the Seven. And naturally, as the player, you will go and acquire the element. But they could so easily use this as a narrative point to, again, make it a good explanation to why the traveler is able to interact with a lot of stuff in any region, really, especially here with the Irimsul tree. Like, it's a very good explanation to why this happens. Because, again, the absolute first thing to happen is finding Hypatia, getting high, and seeing the vision. It makes no sense. Because, like, why the fuck is the traveler just suddenly in front of Irimsul? How the fuck does Rukatavada even know him? Why did getting high get them there? And I know afterwards we get some more lore stuff about the MC, but because again they're not using this chance to use the connection with the Statue of Seven, it kind of feels like just MC privileges to be able to go to Irimsul and see the vision. So yeah, I believe that they could have used that. It's a good narrative point, again, like touching the Statue of Seven does something to the freaking traveler because they're not from here. Oh boy. Let's go into the second act. So the second act is the dream sequence, and here nothing really stands out. It's made so the players get angry at the sages for abusing their powers, and even though, to be honest, you know, from the very first frame they appear in the first act to give you the Akasha terminal, you know they are assholes, right? Like the very first pixel of them, you know they are assholes. Like it's so clear that they are the assholes here. For this act, I have like two notes. One, I have already mentioned in another video when the Archon Quest, this act first appeared, which is that the pacing is kind of bad. And the other one has to do with Nahida. We're gonna like check this one. So in this act and in the final one, we have a loop of events. We have the illusion that we are reliving the same day, like freaking Re:Zero or Steins Gate, like Return by Death. Because of those, the loops, because of the dream/illusion powers. We have this in this act and the final one. What really bothers me, and I do not like it at all, is the use of big numbers. I know it sounds weird, but let me explain. In the dream, Nahida many times mentioned that the traveler has done X thing Y times. And every time Y is just way too big than it should. Like example, it's not the exact wording or numbers, but it's like Nahida saying, oh, this is the 53rd time you've asked me this, or this is the 7th time you've gone out to the city to see what happens if you exit this. And it feels just dumb, man, to use numbers like this. It doesn't surprise the player if so many loops have happened, because it kind of makes the MC look like a fucking idiot. Because it has taken them so long to understand what's happening, and it also kind of means that the MC has literally done circles 52 times. It's not good. Second, third, maybe fourth time is okay, especially second, right? Because you're like, what the fuck do you mean second time we've done this? But any more than that, it just ends up stupid, and the loop concept loses its purpose and any kind of charm or interest in it. If you're just gonna tell me, oh yeah, that is like, the 25th time that you have freaking eaten this in the same day, or like, you get the idea. It's not, it's not a good thing they use. And and next, the other thing is, of course, the pacing. The dream sequence just goes just a tiny bit more than it should. Too many loops, freaking too many loops. They could have reduced their numbers and the pacing would have been a bit better. Third act then. Third act is after the dream sequence that we break from it, we go around the city with Nahida. She's possessing Catherine. We try to get some info from an NPC. And, well, afterwards, we have Dotore's introduction. And I will say they did a fantastic job on Dotore's introduction. They do a really good job on showing Dotore's power and intellect level, because the Fatui levels make, like, the Fatui rankings take a lot of stuff into account on how they rank. And Dotore might not be the strongest one, because I believe actually Child is the best one in combat, but Dotore is extremely, like, intelligent, because he's also from the academy. Like, he graduated from there. Well, actually he didn't fully, but yeah, like, the scene with the NPCs mindlessly clapping for the traveler is so nice and very creepy. That ties perfectly into Dotore's character and how Dotore acts. Really good scene, really good introduction. And so after that, we are saved by Nahida. We run the fuck away, and then we end up in Pardisdaya, where we meet up with Tenari. We also know that Hypatia is in kind of trouble. And, well, we see the boy Scaramouche through Hypatia's mind and consciousness, and I'm like, yes, baby. This scene was good. Scara's past is very well written. I really like Scara's past. I have to say it. And it's just a very good sequence. The fact, though, that Hypatia just accidentally got high and connected her consciousness with Scaramouche, I think it's really funny. But hey, Hypatia, thanks for allowing us to see the poor boy's past. Like, man, poor Scara. And like, Scara, from the very first time that he was shown back in 1.1 and we met him, he was a very interesting character. Everybody was interested in what Scara knew and what he represented, because he was the first character to mention the stars are fake. And everybody lost it when he mentioned that. And I'm very glad, again, with what they did with his past. It's really well written. It's not just discarding him because he was a failure of a puppet, but then afterwards, like, he was in the husk domain, he found, like, friends and got betrayed. Like, the three betrayals part, really good. I really like that one. We still need to know a few things about his Fatui life, I think. But yeah, after that, Act 3 is kind of done, really. Like, the major plot points of Act 3 are done. And it's tied with Act 4, really. It's a pretty, like, smooth transition of Act 3 and Act 4. I mean, that's why they were released at the same time. but you could call them the same act, really. So we immediately continue along, and we enter the desert. We are with Al Haytham. We meet up with Seno in front of Aro Village, and we also make Aro Village our base. We're with Desha and Candace. So, for notes on this act, then, the main problem of it is pacing. I once again mentioned it when I did the video about this act in the previous version. But yeah, the main problem is pacing. Too much random stuff happens in not a good order and not really tied well together. At some point, you are helping Xenon, a random kid, find his freaking grandpa. And then you are with Al Haytham at an abandoned hospital, like creepy hospital, where, to be honest, more attention should be paid because Dottor is tied to it. But then you are in the desert with everyone, and then you find out what the Scarlet King and Rukatevada did, and it's like stuff happening at a wild pace that they don't tie them two together. But it's okay. It doesn't ruin the act that much. There's a lot of important plot points here, of course, especially Scarlet King and Rukatevata. But again, there's a few problems in the pacing, and that's like one of them. One big note, though, that I must make here is that I am so happy that we got a good group of characters to be our buddies in this plan, in the story, and this rebellion that we're gonna do against the sages and the academia. The entire group, especially Seno, Al Haytham, and Desha, make a very good character cast to be with the MC and help him. And I am very happy to see this format come back, because the last time we did such a thing was in Mondstadt. We had Venti, Diluc, and John, who helped us calm Dvalin and stop the Abyss Order. And afterwards, though, nothing like this happened in Liyue or in Azuma. The final battle against Osiel was not like this, of course. We didn't exactly have a helper around Liyue, right? We didn't, like, the Chichin guy, I cannot call it. Like, the higher ranks in Liyue with Ningyan did not exactly help us because we were buddies. They were protecting Liyue against Osiel, right? We were there to just help them after we fought Child. And in Inazuma, well, the less I talk about the Inazuma Archon Quest and the resistance, the better. And so we reach the last act. This one can basically be summarized as the plan in action, right? The plan that we have made to take down the sages and the academia, and of course, releasing Nahida and beating up Scaramus. So, we befriend the Eremites in the desert to get their help, and then we bust into Sumeru City after we like check on Dottore, make sure he left, and then Portinari gets struck by lightning by Scaramus. Really like the scene with Scaramus just taunting the traveler. Really like it. Like, Scar is just really good. He has a really good freaking attitude and character, and the VAs do such a good job at making him the asshole that you actually like. You know, the asshole that you're like, yes, man, I fucking hate everyone here just like you. But yeah, we bust into the city to fuck up the sage's plans. And so my noted moments here are, the Nilu section was not needed. I know why it was included, because we need to include her for her fans and shit, and like the plan and how it went. But like I did not need a whole cutscene with Nilu very awkwardly dancing in front of the academia. If I was there, if I was one of the academia like students, I would have been like, what the fuck is huh? Is this girl like crazy or something? Like, and then ignore her. But after that, oh man, oh boy, poor Isaac. They really did not have one singular girl to cosplay as Nahida and like confuse the guards, and had poor Isaac cross-dress as her. Like, I laughed so much when that happened, but it's one of the best moments of the Archon Quest and the act. Like, poor Isaac, man. Poor boy cross-dressing, because I don't even know, man. It's like, So then, after that, the Grand Sage goes crazy, goes to check up on Nahida, then Seno comes in, like, fucking beats him up or, like, kills him. I don't have that out of his like reach. Like I could easily see Senna just fucking killing the Grand Shades right then and there. And then we have the Traveler and Paimon in the prison cell. Sure, I kind of like the Paimon like banging on the like the cell because like fucking let us out of here, you bitches. But I also found it funny, like the whole purpose of that section is to find a good signal with the like the terminal. Like I found it made me chuckle. But also in this section comes single-handedly the best 5 seconds of cutscene dialogue in the entire game. When the Traveler finds and frees Nahida's consciousness, they actually speak a full sentence. And no joke, the 5-second back and forward of Nahida and the MC, where they actually speak a full sentence, is the best cutscene in the entire game, and I take no arguments against it. It made the cutscene so much better that I thought I was playing a different game. And going back after that, almost immediately, to the mute MC, broke me. That's it. That is it. And so after that, we have the Skara fight. You know, we go to Nahida, and then she's like, gotta beat Skara. And, well, I'll tell you this, I do not like the Skara fight. This is more of a gameplay thing than a story-related thing, but Skara is just not a good boss fight. And I have decided to not go into detail because we're gonna be here for way too long and we're not close to being done, trust me. So yeah, but there are some things that I need to mention from this part. I hit it at the second act, but this is where Nahida uses the illusion powers to trick Skara. But then she mentions that it's like the 30th time that he thinks he has won. And I just hated that. They could have so easily made it that Nahida uses her powers to trick Skara, but it's just the only time that it has happened. It's the first loop, right? And then you have Skara basically taunting Nahida, saying like, you're using such a power, shows that you just cannot defeat me, right? Like the Traveler cannot defeat me if I have seen that I can already defeat you. I've already won before. And yeah, like there's no need to go like, oh, this is the 28th time that you think you've won. Like, don't do that. Use Nahida's illusion powers to trick Skara once, and that's it. And that's it. And then afterwards, you have the whole thing where Nahida's like, I've connected your AirPods to all of Sumeru, and now here come the backseat gamers to tell you how the heck you might defeat Skara. And I'm like, really? I didn't exactly like this scene. It's there for the friendship power goal. Like, all of your friends that you made in Sumeru are not going to help you defeat Skara. And I'm like, this wasn't needed. It kind of as, corny, and yeah, I can let it pass, but it's not really good. And then we have the cutscene that plays after Skara is defeated. This cutscene is the best and worst cutscene in the game. Best because the VAs for Skara just absolutely killed it. And I can easily believe that they could have gone even further with Skara's desperation when Nahida is taking the Gnosis. Such a good moment. And again, the VAs absolutely killed it with Skara. And that's why he's also really good with written character, damn it. But this cutscene is also the worst. Why? Because the freaking Traveler just sits there and watches, and he just lets poor Skara slam head first into the ground. I hated that. And from what I've seen, many people hated that. Like, the Traveler just did not save Skara. People hated that. I'm not saying that Skara shouldn't pass out after the fight. He's disconnected from his power source from the mech, and he is also he's also powering the Eva. And as such, he should pass out because he's out of power. But not because he literally broke his head from slamming into the ground. And also, because the Traveler knows of Skara's past, he might be more interested in learning more about Skara and not letting him just plummet to death. The boy has gone through so much shit. Yes, he's a puppet, but he has gone through so much shit, And you know it. Traveler, you know it. Save the thing. Save him. He's gonna like just become parts by just like slamming into the ground. I didn't like that. Oh boy, we are so close yet so far from being done. Okay, so after that we have Nahida and Dotore, right? We go back into the like the sanctuary thing, and then we have Dotore coming in, incapacitating the Traveler and Paimon with his powers or whatever the gadget that he used with the sound, and then we have Nahida and Dotore's dialogue. The Gnosis part is good, but let me remind you now that we are more than halfway done with the Traveler's trip across the nations. We are done with 4 out of the 7 nations. We're done. We're going into our 5th out of 7 nations. And as such, we can now start dropping some seriously heavy lore stuff. Because again, we're more than halfway done. We don't need to fully exposition at the absolute end. We can go and say stuff. And so I don't agree with the decision to hide Dotore's and Nahida's conversation to the player. The Traveler, sure, but not the player. So I don't like that. Like, we should know what Dotore knows. Fully. Absolutely fully. Not what Nahida will tell us. What Dotore tells us. What, like, again, to the player, not the Traveler. And so after that, they did the same thing they did in Inazuma, which is the exposition dump at the end of the quest. This time it's from Nahida, but like, I hate this thing, and please do not make this a concurrent thing. Don't continue doing this. It's extremely bad. The absolute exposition at the end about the Archon Quest that isn't necessarily tied to Sumeru. Like, come on. The last time we had a Dainsleif quest that mattered was on We Will Be Reunited. Because in the Chasm, we don't have such a thing. Nothing as important happens in the Chasm quest as it did in We Will Be Reunited, because in the Chasm quest with Dainsleif, we're talking about the past. But We Will Be Reunited, which I remind you is before Inazuma, is about the present. And that's my problem. We haven't had any freaking Dainsleif quests for the present. And we need to have more. We need to have more, because we end up with this stupid exposition dump at the end, because throughout the Archon Quest of the nations, we're focused on what the problems of the nations are themselves, and not what the fuck is going on with the MC. And as such, again, we end up with these stupid exposition dumps. But yeah, from this one, we learn about the Descenders and how the MC isn't one, but the other sibling, the MC is one, but the other sibling is not, and how the Irem doesn't have any tracks of the MC we're playing, but the other sibling does. But oh, it gets hazy when the Kaenria disaster almost ends, and when they reach the end of their nation's quest, and I'm like, come the fuck on. I am very afraid of this one. I believe they will do something extremely dumb with this plot point. This is gonna make some pretty bad lore appear in the future, and I didn't like it. And again, I'm afraid how they're gonna handle this thing. If they say some dumb AF shit just to play into the very badly managed self-insert MC thing, I will burst out laughing and be very disappointed. You know, like, oh, you're not actually, you're not the actual sibling. Oh, you're being possessed by somebody else, by the player or some dumb fuck. I'm gonna be laughing and be pissed. Like, please. The whole self-insert thing is garbage. You know, the whole reason why the MC doesn't speak, because that's what they're trying to do, but they're failing miserably. Like, please, I am so afraid they're gonna fuck this one up. Like, the sender thing is an interesting plot point, but then telling me that, oh, the sibling isn't, but the MC is, puts up huge red flags on my head. And that marks the main Sumeru Archon Quest. Oh boy. There are 2 more things that are a bit more general to the game that really stood out in this Archon Quest that I want to mention and criticize. Number 1 has to do with cinematography. For the love of anything, please stop with these seamless transitions. so many fucking times. They try to do these seamless transitions, where they hide the scene with a leaf, and then you're supposed to seamlessly transition to another leaf and reveal the scene. But they don't do that because the camera angle changes and it just ends up so bad. It just doesn't work. They are not doing it correctly and it ends up so bad. And they just keep doing it. Like, Archon Quest plus the event, they did it at least 5 times. And every time it sucked. So please either stop it or do it freaking right, damn it. Like, it triggers me every single time they try to do it and fail miserably. And number 2, they need to stop doing the someone is watching or listening from afar. Just don't show it, please. Once again, in the Archon Quest and the event, they did it at least 3 times. And every time there's no reason to do it. And it becomes extremely repetitive and boring. Every time, how does the enemy know of our plans? Oh, look, camera angle at sus NPC looking or hearing from behind a freaking pixel or something. Like, it's okay to do it once or twice, but these instances also need to be very spaced out, else it becomes recycling and makes the story bad. Like, we're in the city. Oh, look, NPCs looking from afar or listening. We're in the desert. Oh, somebody's listening us or looking. Oh, in the event, somebody's looking as like... Stop it. Stop it. It's not good storytelling. It's not. Surprise the freaking player once. You don't need, like, the Grand Sage being like, I had the spy looking at you and knowing your plans, Al-Haytham. And, like, don't show it. But they did show it. Right? Don't show it, right? There was a spy. He did his freaking job. He spied on Al-Haytham in the group. I don't need a shitty camera angle with number 7-faced NPC just going, looking from afar. I don't need that. Okay? And if you are to use it, do it very sparingly. And that's it. That's it. We're fucking done with this Archon Quest. Look, it was better than Inazuma's, but I don't think that's high praise towards this Archon Quest. And I'm gonna be honest, is because the story is not really amazing. It's not really an amazing story. So, yeah. That's it from me. My throat is killing me because I've been talking for at least 2 hours because I need, like I'm writing a script and then voicing it. But yeah, next up, we have a new Abyss cycle coming in. New enemies coming into the Abyss. So that is most likely gonna be the next video. So I'll see you then. And hopefully I won't get sick again and record something else other than freaking Genshin. Goodbye.